Welcome to Carry the Fire, a podcast where we explore the big questions of life through the lens of the good, the true, and the beautiful. I'm your host, Dustin Kensrew, and my hope is that through these conversations with people of diverse and divergent backgrounds and beliefs, we can glimpse the world anew through each other's unique perspectives.
I feel like we also want to win and be successful and continue to push the needle because people listen when you win and you're successful. And I think it's so important to continue that success so that we can finally, or continue to fight for these beliefs that we, fight for and these issues that we believe in because, people will then listen and you can continue the conversation.
Hey everybody, today we are joined by professional soccer player Ali Krieger. Ali has been an integral part of the women's U.S. national soccer team over the past few years, winning 2 World Cups, and she also plays for the Orlando Pride. In our conversation, we discuss advances in LGBTQ rights and women's rights, and the responsibility Ali feels to use her voice for good. We talk about the difficulty of not deriving your identity completely from the things that you pour yourself into, and Ali shares what it's like to represent the U.S. on the world stage. Let's dive in. It's so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, just to give you a recap on what I try to do on the show is I'm kind of getting in roundabout ways at the good, the true, and the beautiful, basically like what it means to be human from all our different perspectives. And
okay, awesome.
But I like to get under that in the beginning by asking about wonder, specifically growing up, what would cause you to feel like a deep sense of wonder about the world?
Oh gosh, that's such a good question. I think just going through and experiencing different types of people and different traveling around the world. I feel like at such a young age, I was so excited to kind of get out of my hometown. And that's what really excited me and really opened my eyes and broadened my horizons on just recognizing that there's more out there in the world than just what's in your little comfort zone and bubble at home and in like suburbia. So yeah, I was really happy that I was able to travel around and get a better sense of, individuals and being human and seeing the world in a different way, learning a new culture and language, traveling overseas to Germany, living there. I think like as I was young, I was really happy about that because I think it helped shape me as a better person. I feel like living in my small bubble, I don't know where I would be today doing that. And what excites me about the world is traveling and meeting new people. And that's what inspires me and seeing beautiful places and just different cultures and languages. It's incredible to explore. And it's nice to be a part of something bigger than just inside of our little comfort zones at home.
Yeah, I feel like looking back in my life, had I not traveled as much touring, I think it would have been harder to break out of certain views of the world that I had grown up with. Just because we all have the bubbles, like you're saying, however you want to call that. You have a list of things that you're exposed to and ideas about those things, and until you experience otherwise, like it's very hard to think about those things any differently. So
for sure. And you got to kind of get uncomfortable to be comfortable. So I learned a lot being in such uncomfortable situations and traveling and not really understanding my surroundings as well, but you learn by doing, and I think that was really encouraging at a young age.
Awesome. I know you've talked about wanting to have kids in the future. Have you progressed on that thought anymore, or still in a holding pattern kind of?
Yeah, it is in a holding pattern because we do, because the Olympics got pushed back another year, we both definitely still want to try and play in the Olympics. for us, that would be a dream come true. Excuse me, because we don't have a gold medal at the Olympics. And it's like the one thing that I feel like, we're missing for the collection of championships that, obviously have been incredible achievements, but I just feel like I would love to just try one more time because 2016 didn't go so well. So we've kind of pushed everything back a little bit in the plan. I'm sure everyone has this year because it's just been so crazy and unexpected. So
that's great. I have a question from one of the patrons of the show. Brian is saying, playing, watching sports are often activities that are seen as inherent goods, as joyful diversions from our day-to-day issues in life. And he says, with more focus in recent years on activism and peaceful protests within sports, do you see this as a further extension of the good that sports can bring to everyday life? So I want to kind of piggyback on that and just say, like, do you feel it's your responsibility in some sense to use your position for advancing certain issues?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel definitely a certain responsibility. I feel like it just kind of comes along with it and goes hand in hand with the job. And I feel like it's amazing to use our platform specifically to kind of talk at issues or about issues that we truly believe in. And some of us believe in obviously different things and different issues, and we fight for different beliefs that we have. And I think that's what's so attractive about our national team and being individuals and really fighting for what we believe in on the platforms that we have. And then the extension of, the national team platform and then the NWSL platform and then our individual club platforms, I think is really beneficial for us. And I do feel like, using your voice is really, really important because people are listening and you can amplify other individuals' voices who don't necessarily have the platforms that we have. And I feel like it's somewhat of a duty for us to do that and continue to fight for women, for, women's rights, gay rights, anything that, fight for, Black Lives Matter movement that we've been, such a big part of, especially this year. And yeah, those things that I feel like are super important for us to really focus on. And, it attracts people and it keeps the conversations going on all of these important topics. And I do really feel like as athletes, we have a lot of power and we can use our voice really loud and people listen. And so I think it's crucial that we, can help amplify what we believe in and what others believe in by using those platforms. Yeah, 100%.
You spoke about women's rights. And I have 3 daughters you just got to meet, the youngest. And I'm always trying to both encourage them to step out and to lead and not be afraid to assert themselves and that they can do whatever they set out to do, as well as trying to have them appreciate, there's still struggles ahead, but how much work has been done by so many people to bring things to where it is today.
Right.
I don't know. It's so interesting just with such great TV these days. So like just seeing little snippets into like different time periods of what women had to deal with. And I'm curious, like in your own life, maybe what are like a few of the ways that you've seen things change a bunch? And then what are a few of the things that you see as like major hurdles still ahead?
Yeah, great question. I feel like visibility is huge and is so important. And when I was younger, I didn't realize that, there could be individuals in same-sex relationships. Like that just wasn't visible to me, and it wasn't talked about, I guess, when I was younger. And I really found that out as like a senior when my brother actually came out as well. And so I was kind of like, oh wow, that's great. Like, I love you no matter what, this is you. And I'm super supportive, but I didn't even think that way because I never saw it on TV. I never read it in books. I never saw it in magazines. And that was, and that was such a an experience, eye-opening experience for me, because I had to really like kind of delve into that and like take it all in and be like, oh, this is like okay. Obviously people's feelings, it wasn't as accepted, back in 2003, or I mean, since, ever, but it started to be, for me personally, more known and accepting, I guess, in my life. So anyway, besides that, I mean, women's rights have obviously, have come a long way. I mean, seeing, female athletes just, break those barriers continuously since I was really young. Not only the national team, but, tennis stars like Serena Williams, and really holding their own and standing on their own 2 feet and really battling and speaking out for women's rights. And obviously now Megan Rapinoe is leading the charge for our team, and all of us frankly have our back and are continuing down that path. And then with the Me Too movement, with actresses kind of having enough of, really being discriminated against and sexually harassed at work, and really standing up and fighting and for what we deserve and what's right. And I think that it's just incredible to see the evolution. Obviously there's still a lot of more work to be done because we still aren't paid equally to the men's side. And so we are continuing to fight for that. But just women in general, I feel like a sense of, I guess just a sense of power and I guess just empowering each other right now. Recently, in the past, 5-10 years of really coming together and kind of creating our own movement of really fighting for what we deserve. And if that's in the workplace or on the soccer field or on the basketball court, a lot of women are really paving the way for us to kind of continue in those footsteps. And then I think specifically talking about your children, I mean, girls are the best. And I really believe that because we have more visibility now for the younger generations to kind of look up to, they have many more examples of role models who can be gay, straight, trans. And I think that there's just so many different avenues that young women can kind of take and really follow and feel whole and feel enough and feel that they can do anything and be whoever they want to be. And that's going to be accepted. And so I feel like it's getting there. There's obviously a lot more work that needs to be done, and we're continuing to fight every day. But yeah, it's obviously a daily work in progress.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know, I want to encourage everyone out there who isn't a soccer star or someone in a public position that it's such a group effort. Like, I think like the needle can't move with just one loud voice saying something. Right. Like it's the echo of that voice, like throughout a community and back up and around. And like, and that is what's been cool to see with the women's team, like how much solidarity there is. And it creates, I think, a sense of community and safety in a sense, but not a passive safety, like a safety with which you can like gain ground and move forward. And yeah, especially when you said the Me Too thing, it's just like, it's things like that where it's this silent struggle for so long, and then finally people are able to voice it enough to get out there, and then everyone's like, how did everyone live with this for so long? Like, and obviously there's so much work to go there still, but the seal has been broken in a sense. It's like, we're not going to live like this anymore.
Right. Like they've had enough. They're like, okay, like I refuse to, exactly what you say. I refuse to continue to live like this and feel this way. And
it's such a long struggle. And I think it's good to keep that in mind, because the little things that you do every day, they add up to such a bigger thing in the end, even if you can't see the fruits of it right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
I want to go back to you coming out and your brother coming out before you. Like you were talking about visibility, and it's interesting how having language or images for things like opens our realities up in certain ways. Like that's why like 1984 is like the scariest book to me, because it's talking about controlling people's thoughts by controlling the language they have access to, which is super scary.
It is.
But like with seeing your brother, like did that open up possibilities for you, like going forward in thinking, or did it make sense of feelings you had already had, or kind of a little bit of both?
No, it was absolutely feeling of like thinking more forward and being more open and not really understanding what that meant for him. And I was just really kind of caught off guard and just like, oh, I didn't, not necessarily just about him personally. It was more so like, oh, like two men can be together. Like, can two women be together? Like, I was just like so insane that I would think that way, that I had no idea. And this is me being really honest. Like it sounds crazy, but because I had never experienced that in my small, vanilla town growing up, it's like, I don't know. I just wasn't, there wasn't visibility on TV like there is nowadays, or in magazines like we had mentioned before. And I just feel like, it made me automatically think, okay, like, wow, this is opening up my eyes to like so many other things. And then I met friends at college who were in same-sex relationships. And so I was then like, oh, so two women can be together too. And like, that's okay. And like, this is interesting. And I don't know. So yeah, that's kind of exactly what you said. It was more so like forward thinking rather than like, oh, now my feelings make sense.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Yeah, because I mean, everyone's so different. Like there's, I think, especially with issues around being gay, there's so many stereotypes, and I think it's cool to hear stories that break from all different kinds of molds. So that's super cool. Yeah, I'm curious, if you were from such a small town, was that a big deal? Like when your brother came out?
Yeah, it wasn't like a small town. I grew up in Dumfries, Virginia. It was close to DC. It's about 30 miles south of DC. But it was like we were in this small neighborhood community in Montclair, and it's I don't know. I say vanilla. I mean, my high school was actually really diverse. It just, I don't know. Like it was a lot of upper middle class families, and I don't know. I just feel like maybe just the visibility aspect about it. Wasn't there. It was very absent. And it's not like we talked about things like this as a family growing up. So yeah. And that's why it took my brother so long to, come out with his feelings and, and who he really is and his truth. So it's not that my town was super small. It just was not really talked about.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I am also not from a super small town, but it's more diverse now. But
where are you originally from?
I actually grew up in Irvine, and I live in Irvine again after. Okay. Yeah, so it's not small, but it I don't know. It has a certain quality to, especially growing up.
Right.
I want to talk to you a bit about identity as far as like something that you do. Like I've had this, been in this band since I was 17, I think, at the very beginning of it. But, and I just turned 40. It's been such a huge part of my life. And at times I've had to like try to extricate myself from like the identity of being like, hey, I'm the guy in this band or whatever. And what does that do to like my self-worth when people do or don't like this thing that I'm so involved in? And I feel like you put so much of your life into soccer. I'm curious how that struggle it's been for you in finding identity in and outside of soccer. Especially, I was reading an article, I think you put out in 2019, but you were talking about in 2017 when you weren't picked up for the national roster, and you kind of struggling with that. But I'd love to hear more about how you deal with it.
Yeah, it's really good question. I like these questions because it's like, obviously exactly what you said at the beginning, just more so touching on the human element of individuals, because a lot of people think athletes are just like, stone cold and they can handle everything and anything, and they don't get hurt by anything that's, said to them or said about them, or, going through whatever they're going through. And you have to perform at your best every single day, especially at the highest level.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you understand that as well. Like, you're having to give your all every day. And I don't want to call them sacrifices because it's a choice, right? Like this is a choice to do what I love to do.
But there's a cost to it.
There is a cost. And I feel like at the end of the day, Ash and I speak about this too sometimes, where you feel like you're giving for 10 to 15 years to, being a professional soccer player, and the sport doesn't necessarily give you so much in return, other than something I'm very grateful for, these lifelong friendships with my teammates, and, a few gold medals along the way. But at the end of the day, it's like when you're done, that's it. And you got to just kind of like figure out what you're going to do next, because we can't retire and just chill the rest of our life. We actually have to find another job or another passion to do. But at the end of the day, you give, and you're missing out on, just like I'm sure you understand, weddings and funerals and birthdays and, I don't know, any other celebrations or events in the family, holidays. Like we just, for years and years, and then it's really difficult to not be defined just by football. So that's a goal of mine, to not just be defined as Ali Krieger, soccer player. I want to also, be defined as a really good human being, a great person, an amazing wife and daughter, sister, and friend, most importantly. And back in 2017, when you brought that up, I started to figure out other things that I've always wanted to do, which was continue to get my coaching license. And in case that, soccer wasn't going to work out for me anymore, I was at least going to be able to, do something else. With all this work that I've put into, the sport, why go into anything else, right? After you've tried to perfect your knowledge of the game for 30 plus years. Anyway, then I started, AKFC, which is, my camps and clinics. And I started to do that and work with a lot of kids and try to, go around the country and see kids and help develop them at a young age during my camps and stuff, because I know not everyone can come to the games and see us. So I felt like, hey, this is my chance to kind of go out and, teach the game a little bit and what I know, and give back to the communities that have supported us through and through. So little things like that. I really wanted to see what I really like doing. And then now doing broadcasting for Orlando City has been great, because that's another piece that, I can be identified as, just a analyst for the men's game and hopefully future women's game. So, all these little things are really exciting to kind of, jump into, to see what I like and what I don't. But yes, just being defined as a footballer is something really difficult for us. I think that's why we have to go back to what we were speaking about before, and using your platforms for issues that you believe in, and figure out what really is your passion, and what you want to do after football's done. Because when it's done, it's like you sit here and I see some of my, former teammates at all different levels kind of struggle with the fact that they're finished, or, and they haven't thought about what's next. And they've only done that for however many years. And now they're kind of just like, what now? So I'm trying to kind of figure out that process towards the end of my career now, and not just wait till the very end and only have that soccer identity. So it's a difficult balance, And it's a great question. I think we'll continue every day to find purpose. I mean, each and every one of us in life, but yeah, I mean, how I know this isn't, this is your show, but I'm wondering how you find other identities outside of musician.
I think the hard thing for me, I don't know, there's like multiple levels because I'm pretty like socially phobic. I don't know if what the best way to put it, like just like social anxiety. But I do still like crave community, and so part of that has been, I think, fulfilled for me in feeling a sense of community with our fans, which is great. But it's not like a good place to put like your self-worth, so
Right.
I think I honestly think the most recent kind of health and development for me in that sense has been just doing stuff like meditation and growing in my understanding and experience of being a part of everything in the world and not just a separate mind, which is like kind of my natural like movement. And so, yeah, being able to kind of see through the ego from that angle is helpful, because you can still enjoy all of the fun things about whatever it is that you are putting your time and effort and love into.
Right.
But it gives you a little bit of a buffer and a distance from clinging to them, I think. So.
Yeah, I don't know if you feel this way either, but going along with that statement, I feel like sometimes it's difficult to not get stuck in this like egotistical I don't know, this lane of, okay, I play football and like, look at me, we're so great and grand. And I don't know, I feel like I try to stay as humble as I can, because I just love the sport, and everything else is kind of just coming along with that. And you don't really ask for all the attention. You just want to continue to play at the highest level. And so I feel like it's, some people at the highest level, they still, I feel like, struggle with that. And I'm sure you see it often as well. But yeah, that's also why I try to stay humble, so I don't lose my identity that I've held on to for so long, ever since I was young. And I think my high school friends, keeping them around constantly every day in and day out, it really helps as well.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think there's definitely something to be said for not like you can control it a lot of times, but I feel like people who have put in, maybe this is less a thing in sports, probably is less a thing in sports, but in like music or something like that, there's definitely people who have kind of popped into the limelight and not really had a path of struggle towards it, and it ends up kind of eating them in the end a lot of times, because there's nothing to fall back onto when everything doesn't go your way, But I feel like for anyone in professional sports, there's just so much time that's been put in.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. There is.
I actually wanted to ask you about that. Just the dedication and drive that it takes for so many years to be in the position that you've achieved. What, like, have you just had that internally? Was that kind of imprinted on you when you were a kid, or I don't know?
Yeah, I think I've always had that drive and that determination to want to be good at something, whether that be soccer or, just in school, or, making my parents proud and whatever. I just feel like I always had that, and I was born with that drive to want to be successful and to want to be good and at whatever I did. So once I finally figured out that I was actually good at soccer, which was around like high school, I guess.
Oh, that late?
I mean, that's when I was like, getting more accolades than when, from when I was younger. When you're younger, it's like more of a team thing, and you're like, okay, we won state cup, or we won, I don't know, this tournament, that tournament, whatever. And, we're champions of the league. But I guess when high school, you start to really, you're playing ODP and you're, getting called up to the state team and the regional team. And I didn't quite make it to the national team when I was young. So I figured I'll take a different path. And so then I guess I feel like I always had that drive once I really knew, okay, I could be really good at this and maybe I can turn this into, a true, like a real thing. Like I can go into college and get a scholarship and then maybe be pro. At that time, the national team, I remember in 99, I think I was 11 years old, watching the Women's World Cup. And that was like my aha moment. Like, I want to be them. I have that same drive to, I'm watching them on the field and how, badass they look and how powerful they were and how confident and consistent. And I was just like, this is so cool. And I want to do that. I want to be exactly that. So I felt like since then I was really striving to get to the highest level. And so I put all my energy into that. I also played volleyball and basketball, which I really enjoyed. And I also treated that super hardcore as well and gave everything. But I think in the end, soccer kind of won out, and I went through college and then turned pro after that. And it just was kind of, happening all at once, and every level I was just refocusing and continuing to enjoy it, most importantly. So yeah, I think I've always had that when I was young. I've always just wanted to be good at something. And so with football, I, really loved playing it. I loved the team mentality and having friends on my team. So that's also what attracted me. Playing an individual sport, I don't think I could ever do that. But yeah, I've always had that drive at such a young age. And maybe my brother helped a little bit. I would chase him around and, he would play soccer with me. So he would kind of beat me up along the way. And so I kind of built that strength. So I was happy about that. And I just wanted to do anything that he did. So we would always compete. So I think I've always had that competitive nature.
Do you just have one sibling?
Yeah, I just have an older brother. We're only 13 months apart. So
nice.
Yeah, we're really close.
Our youngest two are 15 months apart, 16, something pretty close.
Yeah.
It's great most of the time.
Yeah, I know, right? There's going to be those days, but in the end we're really, really close. So it's good.
We constantly are reminding them, like, look, this is going to be your friend your whole life. Like,
right.
You've got people coming going, like,
yeah,
I know you're mad at them right now, but like, you're going to grow up and you guys are going to be tight. Like,
yeah.
And they're already so great to each other when they're not killing each other, but it's definitely on or off.
There's moments.
Kind of side noting, I'm just going to ask you since I'm talking to you. So my oldest daughter is, she's a great keeper, and she's playing club right now. She's going to go into high school next year. Did you play club and high school? Did you do, yeah.
Okay. I get upset when kids nowadays can't enjoy both. And I feel like with this whole ECNL thing and this whole, like,
I don't even know what that is.
The whole model, it's just a small, like, system in the club system. So there's like 5 or 6 different, like, affiliations to club teams that you can be in, like different groups. And that's just one. And it's probably one of the most popular. And I feel like a lot of teams now think if you're not in the ECNL, like you're not good enough, or you can't like make it to the highest level, or it's just kind of, I don't know. I feel like there's so many different ways to get to the national team and so many different pathways to even just be a professional player that so many of us have taken along the way that there's not one right way to do it. And I mean, I quit ODP when I was 16 and I was like, this isn't fun. This is too much money and from my parents. And they're also dragging me around all up and down the East Coast for what? Like, I'm not even enjoying it. And I can find a different way to get to the highest level. So I feel like I get upset because a lot of parents or a lot of club coaches aren't allowing those kids to play high school. But I loved high school. I thrived in high school. I thought it was so cool to kind of have that different experience with a different coach and different players on a different level. And I think I learned a lot during both. I feel like club team, we only trained like twice or three times a week. And then high school was every day. So I feel like it was just, I don't know. And it's a short amount of time. We were in the spring for high school. I don't know what it is for your daughter, but I don't know. I get a little upset because I feel like playing different sports as well in high school really helped, helped me learn different footwork skills or different hand-eye coordination skills, or playing volleyball and getting my, footwork right, and playing basketball. It's a similar style to soccer. Just obviously less amount of people on the court. And I don't know, I just feel like I learned a lot of, techniques and specific like technical things that I now apply to soccer. And that's what has helped, me and be so successful and so good individually. So I feel, I don't know, I love high school and I think it's just a cool experience for everyone.
Yeah. I think the hard thing for us is trying to figure out like I don't love club just personally because it's so intense, but like
right.
the only reason she's doing it is because she was like doing really well at her like ASO thing, and then there wasn't a team for the year that she was going into, and we're like, oh man, like I guess we got to do this. But she's done great in it, and I feel like part of me wants to be like, yeah, just do high school, and yeah, you can play another sport, or you can do the off season or whatever, and not do club for a bit. But do you think that's like, is that like ruining her opportunities, like if she wanted to play in college or something?
I feel like with club team you get seen more from college coaches, but now during the pandemic they're not really, like, no one's really allowed to go to these tournaments, or I don't even know if they're happening. And I think they're doing like, FaceTime visits now with like college players. And so I feel like it's a bit adjusted now. I do think that club, the only reason why club is great for college is that a lot of college coaches go to these club tournaments, scouting, and that's how you get seen. So I feel like, it depends on what tournaments that you enter, but you can also reach out to those college coaches and send like videos. They do, a lot of parents do that now, send video clips and things of games that your daughter plays in that they can see, or I don't know, things like that. But yeah, I think club is really beneficial, but I also think high school is just enjoyable because it's like this camaraderie that you build with your school and your team. And I don't know, it's just a different kind of mentality and motivation of what you're fighting for. Yeah.
I think
because it's more so like you're fighting for the whole student body rather than just like, your club team. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, we just got to keep doing what we're doing, which is kind of letting her decide what she actually wants, like if she wants to push for it, cool.
Exactly.
Like, support you. But I don't want to be running around doing club if it's not like what you're loving doing.
My parents were exactly like how you just said it. They just said, listen, like, we're here for you and we're supporting you. You got to tell us what you want to do and what makes you happy, and that is most important. Like, if you're having fun, great, let's do it, but we're not pushing you either way. And I really respect that, and I think that's the way to go, because a lot of players, if they do too much, they stop playing at like 15, 16, and they're like, I'm burnt out, I don't want to continue. This has been a lot, and like, it's not fun for me anymore. So they just stop.
Yeah, especially you're like developing like your social life and like
Yeah.
trying to figure out what you actually like doing, and if you have
Right.
no opportunity to do that.
Right.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about what it's like representing the U.S. in like a global sense, both the good and bad, because I imagine there's a really great feeling, and then there's a complication to that with just what the
Yeah.
U.S. actually
Yeah.
looks like a lot of times, and how that's perceived abroad. Yeah.
I'm so proud to represent our country. It's been difficult this year, and within, our leadership of the country has been hard. But when you put on that jersey and you've worked your entire life for those moments and you never know if you're ever going to have that opportunity again, I think that you just think of all the people who you're playing for, not only yourself, not only your family and friends, but the U.S. as a whole, and all of our supporters and fans, and just represent our country is like a whole different level. And it's a different sense of pride that I have and I carry, and I'm don't take it lightly. And I'm so grateful every opportunity, because, you never know if it's going to be your last game. So you have to give everything every single day. And you could go into one camp and then not go into the next, and, start one game and then come off the bench the next. And so you really, when you put on that jersey, it's like a whole new feeling of, wow, I'm not only just playing for, myself and my family, but I'm playing for, you and your friends and your family and in our country as a whole. And so it's a whole different level. And I think especially at a World Cup, you feel like you're on a whole new level, and you're so powerful because, and you're so motivated because, every single individual in the United States has got your back and is rooting for you and is cheering for you. And so I think we use that a lot of times as motivation to just go out and crush it. So it's an amazing feeling. Obviously it's difficult now, with the leadership, but pushing that aside, it's about the team, and it's about winning, and it's about finding success and moving forward as a group. And I think, anything we give as individuals to help the team be successful is what's most important, and we all carry that with such pride.
Yeah, that's cool. I feel like it's a unique opportunity to represent in sports in a way that you're able to, because there's like the reality of a country, and then there's the like the ideal and the idea of a country. And I think whenever you get too proud of like the reality, like things get bad, rather than always pushing for like the ideal and saying like what we are striving to be is always better than where we're at. And
yeah, that's a great point.
I feel like you're able to, in that kind of arena, represent and call people up to the ideal that I would hope we're all striving for.
Yeah.
Have you experienced much anti-American sentiment when you've been overseas?
Only when we went to Brazil, because one of my former teammates had made a big stink about Zika at the time. And that was just an unfortunate situation, and kind of started off the whole trip pretty poorly.
Yeah.
So that was the only thing. I think all of Brazil was just attacking us left and right. Or just not Brazil as a country, but just as, fans and supporters of the game. And I think they were, they had a bad taste in their mouth, when we were kind of showing up around. So I feel like that was the only time that I felt, it was bad. Any other time, I haven't really experienced it, other than just like, going to countries or playing in a World Cup and fans just supporting their own team. A lot of fans around the world support us too. So you always feel like it's a home game anyway, no matter where you play. But no, I think that was probably worse in 2016 at the Olympics. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I've never really felt it in general either traveling. There's always been a sense of a welcoming of us as individuals and not as representative of
Mm-hmm.
everything bad that's going on in our country. So I've been appreciative of that.
Right. And also, I feel like before we move on, just to finish on what you had asked initially about feeling that pride and playing for your country. And I feel like we also want to win and be successful and continue to push the needle because people listen when you win and you're successful. And I think it's so important to continue that success so that we can finally, or continue to fight for these beliefs that we, fight for and these issues that we believe in, because, people will then listen and you can continue the conversation. If we weren't as successful, I don't know where we would be right now, but I think it's so great that no matter what's going on within our country and our leadership, we continue that work and continue being successful so that we can get what we deserve eventually.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, I think you can see that you guys were able to represent in a way that was very much your own way and not not a way of just acting like I don't know how to put it, but I think just getting back to like you were always pushing for that ideal and not settling into like, oh, hey, we're gonna. I mean, obviously, Megan was very outspoken about a lot of that herself, which was great. But I loved. You talking about winning is getting at that where it's like you can say that stuff when you're not winning, and it's like okay, but when you're winning, you have like a bigger voice to say it with, and it makes a bigger impact. So
when people are listening.
Yeah, I mean, so it's interesting in the way that you see that as you guys have been fighting not just for yourselves in this, and not even just for the idea of the country, but for the way that it then impacts all the people that come after you.
Right. Absolutely.
Hey everyone, if you're already supporting the show through Patreon, thank you so very much. If you aren't yet, I wanted to let you know that you can now become a patron and support the show for as little as $5 a month. Becoming a patron can provide you with a variety of perks, including access to additional content like song lyric breakdown episodes, Q&A episodes where you can submit questions for me to answer, additional conversation episodes that won't show up in the public feed, and access to our Discord board where we're building community and engaging in deeper conversations around the show. Last year, I spent some time talking with my good friend and guitarist of my band, Thrice, Tepe Teranishi. We talked about photography, bread, skateboarding, and how he finds beauty in the world. Here's a few clips from that episode.
When you're taking a photo of something that you think is cool, you're trying to document, at least for me, something that you've seen in real life, in actual life, that you think is beautiful and worth capturing. So you pull the camera up to your face, you take that picture, and then you move on. You stay in the moment. You stay involved in what is happening.
You don't get sucked into an image of what you were looking at.
Yes, whereas a digital camera, you take the freaking picture, then you're sitting there, you're reviewing it on the back of the camera, then you might retake it and look at it again, and then it just pulls you away from that moment completely. In a grain of wheat, you have pretty much everything you need in life, but you don't get any of that practically unless you ferment it, which then unlocks all these amazing things for you and makes it not only more digestible, but also more healthy for you. And I just, the idea that you can literally take flour and water and then ferment it using the like natural bacteria just that's around you in everyday life, and then create bread out of literally just that was like really fascinating to me.
And that it's actually better for you.
Yes.
If you're digging this podcast and want to join me and others like you in our pursuit of the good, the true, and the beautiful, then joining us on Patreon is the best way to do it. Sign up today at patreon.com/carrythefirepod. All right, let's get back to the show. Do you have any consistent practices or habits that are helpful for you?
Yeah, actually, I do. This year, have done more, mental work, I guess, for we Ash and I actually go into the gym, we'll work out, or we're going on the training field, we'll work out. But then we do, like a mental stress relief kind of session to really like a little mental therapy session to really help kind of, lower our anxiety and just kind of do these breathing exercises, which has really helped. And I know you mentioned that before, that, you've done some meditation, but I feel like specifically after training, we'll do that, which has really helped me kind of just come back down to zero and, like just end the training off really well and just very calm. And then I can kind of continue the day. So it's been great doing that. I need to do it every day. I don't necessarily do it every day, but I think that has really helped me, especially playing at the highest level and all the stressors kind of that we experience. So that's been great. And just trying to eat right. I know now the holidays, like I can, drink a glass of wine often. So I, obviously have to just focus on that and making sure every single day that's consistent. So my nutrition's consistent because, being an athlete is a 24-hour job. So it's not necessarily just a 2 hours a day you're training. We're actually having to do recovery and, lifting and on-field training and, off-field training. And it's just a lot. So yeah, those two things have really helped, especially in the off season now. And then sleep too.
Sleep is important. I'm bad with that one, but I'm slowly learning how important it is. Getting older, just being like, oh, it actually hurts now.
I know.
And I'm grumpy if I don't sleep enough.
Right. Yeah.
It was funny. Like it was a couple of years ago when I really realized, like, I think it was just ages of my kids too, and I could feel how short my wick was, and I was just like, this is not good. I need to sleep.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Sleep's one of those funny ones where it's like, yeah, everyone, you're like, I know, but there's study after study that comes out every year that's like, no, it's like way more important than we've understood.
Anything else, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I was wondering, with you talking about doing like breathing and stuff after working with how hard you work, I almost wonder if it would be helpful too in like physically, as like not getting like keeping like tension in the body after you're working. I mean, obviously physical stretching, but just how connected our brain and mental state is to like our actual body state at any given moment.
Yeah.
All right, this is my last question.
Okay.
What are some of the ways that you regularly encounter beauty or seek it out in your life?
Oh, cool. That's a really good question. I've never really thought about that.
Beauty in a very broad sense, just like could be hanging out with your dog. I saw you had a cute puppy.
Yeah, that honestly, I was just gonna say that. I think taking the dogs to the park and letting them just like run all over the place and get their energy out. I've really enjoyed that. And also going on long bike rides with Ash. That's been really nice because, we obviously can't do much. We don't really leave the house too often. I know a lot of people don't, but, we don't go out and about too much, but going on those bike rides either at sunset or morning is really nice. And I find beauty in a lot of things this year that kind of figuring out that we don't really need a lot of the things that we have, and we can live with a lot less. And so I think it's been nice to kind of clear out some of the nonsense in the house and some of the things that we don't need, give them to people who do need them. And then, so probably those three things, I guess. And then you ultimately I feel better.
All right. Well, That was so fun talking to you. Thank you for taking
I
the time.
know, so fun talking to you too. I appreciate it. Thanks for inviting me. And all right, thanks. Bye.
If you have a moment today, it would help a ton if you could leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and share this episode with a friend. Be sure to follow the podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Carry the Fire Pod. I want to thank my producer, Andy Lara, and all of our executive producers, Chris Reeves, Tony Panaro, Sam George, Reed Duchess, Thomas Fortcourt, Shamir Hassan, Amy Armstrong, Luis Rivera, Gabe Munoz, Cameron Lane, Hamza Bebehana, Michael Maitland, Adam Collins, Susanna Coleman, Ian Hunt, John Diego, Jess Card, Mark Weiss, Brianna Webb, John Buchan, Denise Sugita, Colin Hawthorne, Brian Weisbecker, Josh Millara, Eric Gonzalez, Matthew Alcon, and Tiffany Payne. Thank you all so much for carrying the fire with me, and I'll see you next time.